All right. So, I hope this is working. All right. So, there's a couple funny things I want to go over here. So, one, apparently we need to ban skateboards in terms of the gun ban. And I'm going to show you something here in a second with that. Um, but one thing I want to actually, I just got to make sure that this is actually working. People who joined on TikTok, if you're there, can you hear me? That is the question. Oh, click the wrong thing. There's three people in here. Can you guys hear me? I don't know if my mic is working properly because I haven't actually tested it. Yes? Okay. Thanks, Diane. So that means it's more than likely working on YouTube too. So, that way I don't have to worry about testing it on my phone. All right. So, in terms of Bill C-21, so if anyone who doesn't know what's going on with Bill C-21 or what it is, it's the gun ban. And there's a lot of unfortunate things that are happening with that because this is going to be the biggest gun ban that's ever happened in history. And so what I'm going to do is I requested a bunch of ATIP requests back, and those ATIP requests were ones that people had already previously asked for, things like emails and guns that were seized in raids and stats of gun deaths and firearms that were stolen and the types of firearms and stuff like that, right? So I'm going to show you a bunch of that. Some of these documents are a couple hundred pages long. Two of them are over 120 pages. One of them is 600 and something pages. And then the other one I think is a little bit shorter. I'll have to just quickly take a look at this. 174, 623, and one is apparently just one page. Yeah, so anyway, so I'm just going to go over these with you guys and show you something. But there was also another thing. So I'm not an RCMP guy, and I don't know if there's any special code in regards to, like, you know, the RCMP or anything like that. But if anyone knows what hummus recipes mean, I'm going to show you that in a second because there's an email from 2019, April 16th, and essentially the subject line is hummus recipes, and there's nothing else in this document that, like any other emails around that same date, that says the same things or anything like that. And it seems like it's a code, and I have absolutely no clue what this code means. So I'm going to show you what it is in just a second here. So just let me wet my lips here. Hope you're all having a good day. Oh, I should probably be recording this too. Yeah, let's start that recording. All right. So let's talk about hummus recipes. Because this is kind of funny. So let me just, I got a stream deck, so I'm kind of doing some jumping around here to figure out what best works. Oh, hey, there I am. Let's get rid of me. There we go. Okay, so as we can see here, this is from Donald Neal, and he is down here. He's the Firearms Strategic Policy manager from the Canadian Firearms Program and Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So he's got quite a few different titles there. And what I found interesting is this part right here where it says hummus recipes as a subject, and that caught my attention when I was going through all these documents. This one is 129 pages. And what are you doing? Yeah, no, you stop. Anyways, so it says, Julie Robb, please find the attached recipes as requested with FSP. Now, I did a search for FSP. The only thing I could find was some sort of forestry something protection, I think it was. And Murray and Robb's input. I will provide you with the hard copies to the suite. Now, I think to the suite is either to your office as soon as possible, something like that, right? And or to you in person, something along those lines. I looked it up a while ago, and I'm pretty sure that's what it means. So anyways, I found that interesting because I have absolutely no clue what a hummus recipe is in regards to military. So if anyone knows, I'd be very curious. I was going to reach out to one of my, I have a police officer buddy. I know a couple police officers, but I know this one, and I believe he's part of the RCMP. So I was going to reach out to him and see if he knows at least what FSP means and stuff like that. Because when we scroll down here, There was the attachments, which I don't think the attachments are in this document. If they are, I have absolutely no clue which ones are which. But it says RIAS, RIAS, and I don't know what RIAS means. Hey, dudism. It means right away. Oh, yeah, to suite means right away. Yeah, so hard copies to you right away. That's what it means. Thank you very much. So anyways, I don't know what RIAS means, and then it's redacted. Like this section here is redacted. And then it says with FSP comments. Now, oh, firearms strategic policy comments. That's what the FSP means. That makes sense. Okay, now that makes sense. It has nothing to do with forestry. But then the question is, attach the recipes as requested with the firearms strategic policy input. Hummus recipe. So again, I have absolutely no clue what hummus recipes are. I'm just as confused as you. So I'm actually really curious about this, because whatever it is, obviously they can't talk about it freely, right? Given that, like, none of this document is redacted except for down here, right? Hoping you guys can all see that. So, oh yeah, I did say hey dudism, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, so yeah, that's that. So that's the main interesting one that I thought was interesting in regards to the emails from 2019 in regards to the firearm policies and bans and stuff like that. Now, they were talking about handguns and restricted firearms and military assault style weapons way back then as well, right? Oh, you guys can't see me, and here I am doing quotations. So military style, you know, all that fun stuff. So anyways, that's that. So let's go to page 51, I think it was, of this one. Oh, yeah, so this is Canada's official definition of assault rifle. Okay, so the terminology, yes, Diane, that is a code name, hummus. I would love to know what it means. Anyways, so in terms of the definition of assault rifle, so one of the biggest things that they keep saying is right now is assault style weapons or rifles or etc., right? And they're not saying assault rifles or assault weapons because there is a definition for that as per this email. So so here's Donald again, the guy from the RCMP, the Canada Firearms and stuff like that. So he's sending this email out to Alan, which I keep reading as Elaine, but I'm pretty sure it's Alan because I've seen his name other places. At least I'm pretty sure it's a dude. I mean, I'm not supposed to. Anyways, so people keep saying we don't have a definition for assault rifle. I saw it again in the CSSA open letter this morning. Canada actually does have an official definition of assault rifle. Now, this is something that the Conservatives and other parties have been saying. It's like, what's the definition? Give us the definition. Because in the legislation, they didn't give that definition, right? So that's what they're trying to figure out right now. And so this is actually a clear definition back from October 4th of 2019, just to make sure we're on the same page. So Canada actually does have an official definition of assault rifle. It's just not in the CC or the Firearms Act, which is another issue because we need to have those definitions, right? It is, however, the one used in the annual report of military exports from Canada, which is tabled annually in Parliament by the the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and in Canada's annual reporting to the UN Register of Conventional Arms. It is the definition we use in both Parliament when describing exports from Canada and internationally when dealing with partner nations of the UN. It just hasn't been used domestically. Okay, so that's the first paragraph. I don't know if I want to read all of this because my ADHD is kicking in when I'm trying to read. But let me just see. We've been reporting. Sorry, I read through this a couple weeks ago, and I meant to do this video a couple weeks ago, but I've been under the weather and not feeling like doing a whole lot. Hey, Jim Brooks on YouTube. It is very interesting, this kind of stuff. Guys on YouTube, if you know what hummus recipe means in regards to RCMP code names, please let me know. Okay, so let's go down because we have okay, specifically any semi-automatic firearm is not an assault rifle. In reports from UNROCA, I'm going to call it, from 2016 onwards. And in our annual military export report to Parliament, we include the following language. So they're talking about what's not a fire assault rifle. Well, I'm kind of skipping through this, but anyways, all bolt-action and semi-automatic rifles are reported under rifles and carbines, full automatic firearms that are not submachine guns and that do not fall into the light machine gun or heavy machine gun category are reported under assault rifles. So that means that bolt-action and semi-automatic rifles, which is part of what's being added to Bill C-21 right now, that is currently, as per this these definitions are not assault rifles, but full automatic and also that are not submachine guns that do not fall into the light machine gun or heavy machine gun category are reported as assault rifles, which makes sense, right? So that's I believe that would be an AK-47 would fall into that if I'm remembering the classifications. It's been a while since I've looked into this. And so they said all of our reports are available online. The report for the calendar year 2018 is available there. So here's the actual website that you can go take a look at. If you can pause or screenshot, you can go take a look at yourself. As with each of the past 3 reports, it contains the above definition of what they report as assault rifles. That definition specifies that an assault rifle is a firearm that is capable of full automatic fire and is not classified as a submachine gun, a light machine gun, or a heavy machine gun. As far as the international community, including the UN, is concerned, Canada does not have an official definition of assault rifle, and that's it. So I guess technically Canada doesn't have a definition of assault rifle, but when you're exporting things, you have a definition for assault rifle. So I find that kind of interesting because we have a definition, but it's not applied within Canada domestically, and that's what was set up a little bit higher. So that to me is kind of interesting as well. So I'm just trying to remember what page the other thing was on. Was it page 30? Let's take a look. Geo-distribution, breakdown. I should have written this down. I apologize. But I did not. Notes on cause of death. Oh yeah, so actually let's go to this, stats of gun deaths. So this is a 1-page document, and it's subject notes on cause of death. Hope all you guys can still hear me properly. So some figures on cause of death in Canada. Annual deaths in hospitals to preventable errors, less than 30,000 in, greater than 30,000 in 2014. Preventable medical errors killed more than 30,000 Canadians in 2014. More than stroke, diabetes, kidney disease, and Alzheimer's combined. Now, they don't say what the preventable medical errors are, but it could be something, for example, getting a person onto a respirator at the right time, or taking someone off a respirator too early. It could have been an allergic reaction. It could have been many different things, right? And I'm just spitballing ideas. I'm not saying that I know what the answer is, but that's what they say. And in accidents, there was 12,000 people in 2016, about 2,900 due to automobile accidents. So that is, remember, cause of death, right? Suicide. So in 2016, there was 3,916. Note that firearm figure is only 22% of those cases, 26 for men, and 6% for women. Well behind suffocation, poisoning. Note that while methods have varied, the overall suicide rate in Canada has in fact consistently declined over the past 40 years. Well, that's good. Part of that's because mental disorders and stuff like that actually have names now, and people get prescribed things. they get prescribed things wrong. But I'm not going to get into medical stuff right now necessarily. Now let's take a look at this. Declining. Finally, suicide by firearm has fallen in the past 50%, or has fallen by 50% in the past 20 years, from 2.2 people per 100,000 in 2000 down to 1.6 per 100,000 in 2016, as per StatsCan. Okay. Unintentional opioid poisoning, so accidental deaths, so that would be fentanyl overdoses and stuff like that. 2,800 in 2016. Note that this is prior to the recent influx in illegal fentanyl analogs. Because I think it was 2017 or 2018 is when we had in British Columbia, we had a state of emergency because of the fentanyl overdoses and stuff like that, right? People who tried Coke once or whatever, all of a sudden were dead because there was fentanyl in there, and they had absolutely no tolerance to anything, and just so happens that's what happened. You got to be very careful with that stuff. And just gonna throw this out there for anyone who knows anyone with addictions and stuff like that, or people who might want to try something. I'm not advocating for anything, but there are places, for example, in the city that I work in, because I don't live in a city necessarily, I live rural, but there's ways for you to get those drugs tested, and they are completely sort of anonymous, and you can go in, you can make sure it doesn't have fentanyl. So if you know any people that are struggling with addiction, this is one way to help keep them safe, and stuff like that. Or if you know someone who bought some to try it, tell them to go get it tested first. I'm pretty sure that you don't get in, you'd have to look into it, but I'm pretty sure that the idea with these places is to make sure that people are being safe. So you're not going to get, you're not going to get arrested or anything like that, or at least you shouldn't be. So anyways, there are places like that. I don't know what they're called, but you can easily do a Google search. I know there's quite a few in BC that do that. So, but anyways, let's see. Well, we are creating social acceptance, so I suspect that number will rise. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Wiretap. The suicide. But I think you're talking more about MAID, and I will be talking about that at some point because there's just so much to talk about. MAID, so I guess government-sanctioned suicide or medically assisted suicide is what it's, or medically assisted assistance in dying, MAID. So anyways, so actually we have that stat right here. So let me, I can't scroll down anymore. Let me change the scene. There we go, so you can see more. There's a section here that's cut off down below here, so I'm going to go through this. So medically assisted deaths in Canada in 2018 was 2,600, not including Quebec or the 3 territories. Now there's also a link to be able to check that out. Homicide in 2017 was 660, does not include medically assisted deaths. And I love how they added that in there. I mean, yeah, so homicides, because if you get medically assisted death, it's not a homicide, so they need to make sure that was clear, apparently, right? That's comedy right there. I find that kind of funny. Anyway, so homicide in 2017 by firearm was 266. Now, I do have some stats I'm going to try and find in the documents I'm going to pull up here in a second, and so therefore, with respect to the chance of someone being killed by a firearm in Canada, a person in Canada is, and that's where you don't see it, but I'm going to read it out to you because I can't change anything, unfortunately. 297, therefore, the respect of being killed by a firearm in Canada, a person in Canada is 297 times more likely to die from cancer, 193 times more likely to die of heart disease, 113 times more likely to die accidentally killed by a medical professional, to die as a result of medical malpractice, and that's actually a scary number. If you're 113 times more likely to die from from a medical professional, that's kind of scary in my opinion, because people are so scared about dying from someone shooting them in the streets in Vancouver, but you're more likely to die because a doctor doesn't do something right or a nurse doesn't do something right. So that's actually a little terrifying in my mind, but let's continue on. You're 50 times more likely to die from a stroke. You're 40 times more likely to die as a result of an accident. 15 times more likely to kill themselves. Like, that's crazy. 11 times more likely to die from an opioid overdose. 10 times more likely to be deliberately killed by a medical professional, possibly with their own concurrence. Oh, deliberately killed by a medical professional. So that would be a homicide. That's what that would be right there. And 1.5 times more likely to be murdered by some other method, probably stabbing or bludgeoning. Now this, let me remind you, this is directly from Donald Neal, who's from the RCMP, and I don't have his, let's see, his... Yeah, so you can see here. So he's the manager of Firearms Strategic Policy, Canadian Firearms Program, and he's part of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So that's the same guy, right? Donald Neal, and we go back to here and Donald Neal. So it's the same. It's the same guy, and this is what he's sending out to people. Actually, he sent this to himself, and then that's the same that's seen right here. Actually, yeah, this I should have just read it off of here, but same thing. Now, what page am I on? 32. Where was that other one? I apologize about this, guys. I should have written down the things, but let me just read some comments. Suicide, yeah, another great gaslight. How many people were killed at the beginning of the pandemic because of medical malpractice? That is a very good question. I do not have that information. But now that I'm going to take a picture of your comment, because honestly, I'm going to put an ATIP request about that, because now that I'm seeing these numbers, I'm actually very curious about how people are dying with medical malpractice. And then even this part here, let me just go up to here. So yeah, 1.5 more, 10 times more likely to be killed by a medical professional, possibly with their own concurrence. So I want to know what that means. I want to know how those people died, because whatever it is, that's not good, because we're supposed to trust doctors. So whatever this means is what I want to know. And with what you're saying, because of medical malpractice, I also want to know that as well. But Wiretap Media, if you're still here, I was actually just showing a page here. What was it, 27? Yeah, so if you're still here, because I know that you like looking into things, hummus recipes. It's code name for something. And FSP, I have deemed to be Firearms Strategic Policy. I thought it was, when I Googled it, it came up as forestry something. Yes, the ventilators were weakening some people's lungs. That is true. But in terms of hummus recipes, in terms of code words used with the RCMP, if you happen to know or can figure out what that is, yeah, please shoot me a message. You can get a hold of me on Twitter. It's just Damas Promise, and we can chat there, because I would actually like to have a conversation with you, because I like your videos. Anyone who doesn't know this guy, if you're on TikTok or on YouTube here following, Wiretap Media, he makes some, they make, because I don't know genders, so it's just Wiretap Media, makes great content, and yeah, I suggest going to check out the content there. Now, I don't always agree with everyone's content, other people's as well, but like many other YouTubers and stuff like that, because I think that they may have gotten some things wrong, so I look into it myself, and then I go down a rabbit hole. But regardless, great content, and just remember, watching my stuff, watching anyone else's stuff, to be able to make sure it is true, do your own research, right? Now, what I'm showing you, you can't really research some of this stuff I'm showing you, because it literally is requests that came from the government, that, you know, there's lots of redactions and stuff, like we can see here. This section right here is redacted, so that's something as well. So, you know, it's one of those things that we need to always be asking questions. So you can trust everything I say. You can trust everything that Wiretap Media, who is a he, as they just told me on YouTube. You can believe everything that Wiretap Media says. You can believe everything that Clyde Do Something says, or Mr. Sunshine Baby, Viva Fry, all these other people. But you also have to do your own research, right? You need to ask those questions, and you can ask those questions usually directly to them. Clyde Do Something is very open. If you get on his Discord server and you start chatting, you usually can get a hold of him. He's a great guy. And so people like that, so you just need to ask your own questions. You need to ask for more in-depth information, and a lot of these people are open to this kind of conversation. One of the ones I haven't been able to get a hold of is Viva Fry, because I've had some questions about stuff that he's found. But, that being said, there's always questions to be asked. So you can believe me on everything I say, but I don't think that you should believe everything I say, right? Other than what I'm showing you, right? Like, this is actual documents that I'm showing you, so this is something that can be believed that actually happened at one point in time, whether or not the context is real or whatever. Okay. But anyways, yeah, go check out Wiretap Media. He does good stuff for sure. All right, where's that other? I apologize, guys. I memorized the numbers and I just can't remember them. Yeah, here's the I have stroke stuff. Where did I see that? Let me see if I can scroll through a little bit faster this way. Costing sheets. What was this one? Security clearance. Yeah, this one I wasn't sure about. They were talking about query about security clearance requirements for RCMP contractors. So I don't know if that's, let's say, private security companies are being contracted, or if they're talking about a carpenter coming in to do the work or whatever. But because it's redacted, right? So this is where I have questions. I can tell you that they're hiring security personnel, private security companies that have guns and stuff like that, and that's what they're talking about with contractors. But that's exactly where, if I was to say that as a fact and I don't have those facts, you need to ask those questions yourself, right? So this is where I'm saying that we need to be careful about what we believe, even coming from me, right? Like, make your own judgments and stuff. So anyways, so that I just want to point that out, because I can make up ideas of what they're talking about with that email, but I mean, that's just me making stuff up with my own opinions, right? And the thing is, these documents, they didn't make them searchable, and I don't have Adobe to be able to, like, I don't have the capability to make them searchable, so I kind of have to just go through. It was let's see if I can remember. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so yeah, this is where I was making a joke earlier. Let's ban skateboards, right? So there's some comedy in these documents. And so we need to ban skateboards, because skateboards are more deadly than exactly. We were just getting you the information. Yeah, that's right. So Wiretap Media is saying what we're doing is we're giving you the information to make your own judgments, and that's what he does as well, right? So his videos, actually, he puts quite a bit of production quality into it. I'm trying to get to that stage, but I don't have the programs and stuff, and I just dropped like $2,500 on some things to be able to do this for everyone. So anyways, yeah, that's what he's saying. And Wiretap Media, I'm not sure what you have. If you have the definition for hummus, next time let me know. No context in there, and I've been talking a lot, and then I see what you're saying. Old timer, yes. If you can ask your son-in-law what hummus recipe means, that'd be pretty awesome. And someone on Twitter is saying Dr. Peter McCullough and Dr. Robert Malone are the people we should be listening to. Yes, but when I listen to them, I'm also not, I'm not taking everything they're saying as 100% truth, right? Because there's not enough people. It's kind of like when when medical professionals write a paper about a study that they do, right, then it has to be peer reviewed and proven correct, right? And yes, some things that they have said have started showing up as being true, but not concrete yet. So they are pretty interesting, and I do listen to their stuff, but I don't take what they say as concrete. And I made a video about, I think, McCullough a while ago, many months ago, and that one people got mad at me for because of saying something that I actually wasn't saying. Anyways, doesn't matter. Oh, Adobe. Oh, okay. Cool. So you can, for Adobe, you can do the searchable files. That would make so much more fun. So maybe we should get in touch either on Twitter, or I think my Discord channel is in the comment section, so you can reach out to me there as well. Sorry, not the comment section, the description. Okay, so I found the page that I was looking for. So let's ban skateboards. To support the evidence-based policy making. Which you love it when the government says that, but this isn't the government. This is someone who works for the RCMP, right? Since 2007, at least 173 people have been killed in mass shootings in the United States involving AR-15s, according to New York Times analysts. So 173 people have been killed in mass shootings involving AR-15s, not the other rifles, just AR-15s, since 2007 in the United States. Let me just clarify that. So they go and they say 173 people over 11 years is 15.7 deaths per year due to mass shootings with AR-15s in the United States. For comparison, here are some order of magnitude risk of death statistics from the United States. So we have, let me just change the scene there. So we have visiting the Grand Canyon, about 12 deaths per year. Vending machines falling on you, about 13 deaths per year. And then you have skateboarding, 28 deaths per year. That's pretty high. I mean, pretty significant. And then you have dog bites, 33 deaths per year. Falling televisions, 41 deaths per year. But you don't hear about these in the news, right? You hear about the mass shootings, of course, because mass shootings are very abrupt and they happen pretty big. But you don't hear about all these other ones that are more deaths per year on average, right? Being tasered by police, about 63 deaths per year. Innocent bystanders killed as a result of police high-speed pursuits, 300 deaths per year. Wow. And you don't hear about that on the news. Like, I'm not hearing any of that. 300 people dying because of police high-speed pursuits. Like, that is crazy. I mean, if anyone knows any of these articles, let me know. Oh yeah, feel free to use my videos, man. I'm gonna keep making them. I'm just doing a live today just to get a lot of this information out. I have absolutely no clue how long this live's gonna go. I see I've already been going for... Well, I don't see a time. Anyways, doesn't matter. So electrocution, 400 deaths per year. Carbon monoxide poisoning, 430 deaths per year. Now, it's wintertime right now, so if you don't have a carbon monoxide detector, which I do not have, and I should have, go buy yourself one. It could literally save your life. It could save your animal's life when you leave for work. It can do anything, because you can't really leave a window open to get air circulation in the wintertime, unless, well, you live somewhere not in Canada, but you know, so that's one of the things. So just make sure you got that. It's a very great safety thing. Okay, we also have autoerotic asphyxiation. Now remember, that's how the movie star guy, he died in a hotel in, I think, Paris or France or something like that, in his closet doing that. At least that's what the story was. You know, and then hypothermia, 1,000 deaths per year. And that's kind of scary right now because there's a lot of people having troubles heating the place. Like, for example, I don't know what your Fortis bill was, but it was... I think last year the gigajoule price was about 3 something for gas, and this year it's like 5 something. So it went up by like $2. So I used 1 gigajoule more this last month because it was cooler this month by, I think, 10 or 15 degrees. And long story short, it cost me more, like $50 more this like, it was just ridiculous. But anyway, so hypothermia, people are going to be having that issue here, unfortunately. Alcohol poisoning, 22 1,100 deaths per year. Eating contaminated food, about 3,000 deaths per year. Now, I'm pretty sure this is all down in the United States, right? Accidental falls in 2017 was 36,000 in 1 year. Wow. And drug overdose, 70,000 deaths in 27 alone. So, or 2017 alone. So those are some other statistics that, I just want you to see in terms of deaths, right? But here they're going after the AR-15s. Now, my personal belief is an AR-15 is cool and it's fun to shoot, right? But you don't really need it for hunting, and it's not really designed for hunting. Now, it is designed for ergonomics, so you can go hunting for, follow something in the woods or whatever for a long period of time to try and line up that shot. It is built to be more ergonomic and be more comfortable for you to shoot, right? But that's just something to take into account, right? That AR-15s may not be necessary, but in terms of sport and just having fun shooting some targets, they're fun to shoot. And same with handguns, right? So that's where I kind of have this issues where, people do things for sport. I was a sport shooter when I was, a young teenager to late teenager, and I did sport shooting. And so for me, a lot of these firearms that they're looking at actually are some of the firearms that I shot for target shooting. So I have a lot of issues with what's going on here. Okay, so let's take a look at, right, there's the assault rifle thing again. There's something else. Oh, right. So I probably won't find this, but so they were talking about a buyback program for rifles as well back in 2019 in these emails. I don't think I'm going to come across. Oh yeah, here we go. For reference, I put together the attached deck of sporting firearms calibers that will be inadvertently captured by the 8,000 joule threshold, which I continue to believe is too low. So Donald Neal thinks that the 8,000 threshold is too low. I think now they've actually changed that to 10,000 joule of power out of the muzzle. Muzzle power, what do they say here? Muzzle, yeah, I think it was muzzle power. So he included a bunch of pictures and prices for those firearms, and some of them are worth as much as 200 to 500 AR-15s, right? Now, I think an AR-15 is somewhere between 600 to 1,300 Canadian when you're able to buy it. I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So anyways, I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. Let's see. Let's get down to these pictures. Okay, so these are some sample pictures of the ones that they were looking at banning back in 2019. And I'm just going to switch back over. There I am. Because I keep looking at the camera and I'm realizing I'm not actually on the camera. So those are some samples of the pictures of firearms. Now, again, Donald, he's a very popular guy in these emails. You'll recall from my email earlier today that Rob at Public Safety asked for total numbers of restricted firearms, less handguns, broken down by province. So this is restricted firearms and handguns separated in this chart. And this is what he intended to send, and each wanted to get a thumbs up. He was going to send it to Rob. Now, that's actually a lot of handguns, almost 1 million handguns. Now, if they do a buyback program, handguns, I don't think really get sold for less than 500 Canadian. I've seen a couple for less than 500 Canadian, but normally they're somewhere between $500 to $1,000, right? $500 to $1,000. So if they're doing a buyback program, you just got to look at that number and think, okay, well, if it's 500, times this by 5 and add 2 zeros on the end, right? Like, that's exactly what you're doing. So you're looking at 5 times 8 is 40. So add a 0. So you got 40, so you got 3 zeros, so you're looking at 886 million. just to buy back all of those handguns at the lowest price of $500. And you got to take into account, some of them are going to be $1,000. Some of them are going to be $2,000. Some of them are irreplaceable because they're antiques, and they're going to be way more than that, right? So, you're looking at, just about half $1 billion on the lowest price point that a person would probably be okay with losing their firearm, right? $500 for a firearm that costs $600, but you got use out of it. Yeah, sure, someone might be okay with that. But if you got a $1,500 firearm, no one's gonna be okay with it being bought back for $500. So, and then other types of firearms, there was 100,000 of them, and then a total of, just under 1 million firearms that they're looking at for this. And they don't give a description of what those ones were. And here's some more pictures. Oh, I got to go back to that at the very top. Scroll down. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. I'm just going to make that a little bit faster. Yeah, like some of these, like... they're fun to shoot. I've never shot ones like this, but I shot, similar. They're fun, but you really don't need those, other than sport and fun and recreation, right? So, the argument that people are making in the government is that you don't need these. Well, no, you don't. But they are fun. And that's why people have them. Or they have them as collections. And that should never be looked at as something negative, because collections are important to a lot of people, right? All right. Here we go. Okay. So this is the high-value, non-restricted bolt and break action sporting firearms that will be inadvertently caught by the 8,000 joule threshold, which I believe now that threshold is 10,000 joules, if I remember correctly. Which this guy is saying should be safely set at 15,000. All right. So let's take a look at this. $89,000 US for this one rifle. Now, part of the emails, they said they don't have any numbers for how many of these are out there, so they have absolutely no clue how many of these they'd be buying back if this is what happened. And at that, are they going to pay $90,000 US to someone to be able to buy back that rifle? The government's not going to do that. They're going to undercut them a massive amount. And you got to think, a person may have saved up pretty much their whole life to be able to buy a gun like this for F-class shooting, right? That kind of thing. Long range and for sport, right? And so here you're looking at 44,000 US, right? Then you're looking at 79,000 US. And these are all firearms. Well, this one, if the threshold is 10,000 right now, this one won't be captured. This one won't either. But let's find one that's over 10,000. This is a really nice rifle. I've seen one of these in person. This one would be getting close, the big aim rifle. Oh, you can't see some of it. I apologize. Let me get... Okay, 10,000. The 600 Nitro Express. This one is a 10,000 joules, so this one would be captured by the legislation. And... yeah, I mean, you're looking at $200,000. You're looking at $99,000. You're looking at $18,000. Holland and Holland, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. So essentially, like, this is, yeah, this is a firearm that people would use. I think I know someone who has a Nitro Express. I think, because that sounds very familiar. A 600. But is the government going to pay them that much? No, they're not going to pay them that much. Then you got this one. Now, I want to talk about this for a second in terms of long-range target shooting. Because people see this. Let me just scroll it up. People see this one here, and they're like, oh, that's such a dangerous firearm. It's so tactical, and it's going to kill people. And yes, the military may use a firearm like that. I'm not sure what the high-powered military guys use. But the buttstock here, right? This is an adjustable buttstock. When you are in target shooting, that makes a massive difference to your shooting. It really does. And this, the pistol grip for the I've never shot one with a pistol grip, like a target shooting firearm with a pistol grip, but I did shoot quite a few with the adjustable butt on them, right? And they just make a massive difference. And you know, just the ergonomics of the whole thing just makes the shooting a lot better, right? Most of the ones I shot were similar to this, more in the 22 caliber, of course, because that's the competitions I went to, right? But anyways, so and then like the elephant gun. Now we don't have any elephants here, but I would love to shoot one of these. It'd be pretty fun. But that would be captured as well under this, right? So anyways, so that's these emails. So let's get back to that first page there, because that was interesting. And just let me pour myself another pop in my cup here. Apologize. Thanks for coming and hanging out, guys. I've been meaning to do the stream for a couple weeks. For anyone who's just joining now, we came across an email where they were talking about a hummus recipe, and that was a code word for something. And so if anyone knows what the RCMP would use hummus recipe, you can reach out to me either on TikTok, well, maybe not on TikTok, but on Twitter and Discord, which are all in the my TikTok is in my link tree on my profile, and on my YouTube it should be in the description of this video where you can reach out to me. And I would like to know what that is, or you can just comment on my YouTube video, because this will get saved, uploaded and saved to YouTube here. Okay, let's take a look at this. Okay, the U.S. has published some useful large-scale evidence that helps to encourage thinking and analysis as to the relationship, if any, between private ownership of certain types of firearms and the violent criminal rate, rapes, murders, robberies, assaults, etc. The following chart is sourced from the current FBI statistics on the violent crime rate in the U.S. versus the ever-growing number of MSR, military-style rifles, which is military-style rifles, what our government loves talking about right now, principally AR-15s in civilian hands. Now, this email is not dated. It says 2020 5/13, but I don't think that's... I think that's just when they... Yeah, that's just when they copied this for the ATIP request. So you can see here, more MSRs, military-style rifles to market, while violent crime rate drops. So this right here, this line, is the violent crime rate line, and this one is how many of the AR-15s, etc., are on the market up until 2017. So I'm going to assume that this was probably from, let's see... yeah, so this is let me just read this. Preliminary figures indicate that law enforcement agencies throughout the nation showed an overall decrease of 3.1% in the number of violent crimes brought to their attention for the first 6 months of 2019 when compared with the figures reported to the same time of 2018. So this report was in 2019. That's what I was trying to figure out. But, you know, they're looking at 2017. This down here is just a little caveat that they added to talk about more recent stuff. There's a website there and stuff. But yeah, so you can see here, you know, 1992, not very many, and then more and more going into the market, and violent crime in terms of rapes, murders, and robberies and assaults, etc., are all going down with more firearms flooding the market. Now, this is just something that they threw in there as a thing. So they actually talked about it here a little bit more. There's a clear negative correlation between the number of military-style rifles and private ownership in the United States and the violent crime rate in the United States. Correlation, positive or negative, between the two phenomena does not necessarily imply a causal relationship, but pull that up. But lack of positive correlation necessarily implies a lack of positive causation. In other words, it cannot be logically be argued from the evidence that increasing ownership of MSRs leads to increasing violent crime in the United States, which is what they're always trying to say. The more of these weapons that you have, firearms that you have in people's hands, the more crime there's going to be. Well, what they're saying here is that there's not really, it cannot be logically argued from the evidence that increasing ownership of MSR leads to increasing violent crime in the United States, and therefore it cannot be logically argued, as is currently the vogue, that reducing or eliminating private ownership of MSRs would necessarily lead to a reduction of violent crime rate. So then they continue on. There are only two possibilities. Either the two phenomena, despite being negatively correlated, are causally unrelated, and that, for example, MSR ownership in the United States is driven largely by other phenomena. Example, pronouncements by progressive politicians of impeding gun bans, in which case there is no reason to expect that reducing or eliminating private MSR ownership will have any impact whatsoever on violent crime. Or the two phenomena are causally related, and the relationship is that increasing private ownership of MSRs leads to a decrease in violent crime. The alternative explanation that the phenomena are causally related, but in the other direction, is that a declining violent crime rate somehow induces private citizens to buy more rifles, is not logically explicable. So those are some pretty good explanations. Personally, I find myself. You can read it there on the screen. And I don't think this is very interesting. Yeah, so, and then of course, I think that's redacted, because there's no, yeah, who knows, it might not be redacted. Anyways, so yeah, that's that one. So let's take a look at stolen firearms. So I was looking at this. What page am I on right now? 86. Let's go back up to the top. So this is the firearms that have been stolen in Canada, that have been reported stolen. And I'm not going to go through this first bit because this is all Edmonton Journal, News Saskatchewan. It's just reporters who got their hands on information. Some may be viable, some may not be viable. That's not what we're looking at here. Let's go down, and this is the same thing. We're just going over like a media scrum kind of thing, where they scoured the media. Yeah, okay, so this is, they were asking how many firearms are stolen, where are the firearms stolen from, retail or residence, are they stolen from within Canada or elsewhere, what type of firearms are stolen, restricted or non-restricted. So they were asking that question, and I think the answer, okay, so there's the PDFs, which I think are included here. Is this one labeled that? Oh, they don't have labels. All right, so in Alberta, actually, I'm just going to look at the grand totals for each year, right? For all the otherwise, I'm going to be reading all the provinces. Alberta has the most stolen at 720. No, actually, yep, Alberta, and then BC is next. So 2013, from businesses, there was 64 stolen, and then 2014, 129, 15, 86, 16, 86, and then 2017 was 167 that were stolen from businesses. So that's a break and enter into a gun store, Canadian Tire, that kind of thing. And then for individuals, I'm sorry it doesn't really show up properly on the thing. These ones are in landscape, so they get all messed up. So for individuals of having firearms stolen, there was in 2013 there was 459. In 14 there was 588. In 15 there was 589. In 16 there was 591, and in 17 there was 685 firearms that were stolen. And on their list here, it's just prohibited and restricted. And actually, there's quite a few prohibited that were stolen in each year category. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, so anyways, so that's that chart there, just to give you an idea. So that's a total over 1, 2, three, 4, 5 years of 3,444 stolen from both individuals and also businesses. So this is one of the reasons why Trudeau was saying that we need to have these gun laws, is because if we don't have these guns out there, then when people break into people's houses, they can't get their hands on these guns and stuff like that. I'm more curious about what the police reports are for those 3,444. Were they properly stored? Were the safes broken into? Were the safes stolen? That kind of thing. I'm more curious about that to find out exactly how this happened. But with that being said, that's how many were stolen within that 5-year period. All right, so break-in locations. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to find more information. Oh God, that is tiny. Oh, okay. So this one was also interesting. So this is talking about, well, yeah, you can't see over there. Police reported incidents of breaking and entering to steal a firearm by location of firearm type stolen between 2009 and 2018. So there's things like some interesting ones on here, to be perfectly honest. Parking lots is one of the locations that firearms were stolen. Subway and subway station, they got on the list, so there's got to be at least one. Religious institutions, bars and restaurants, construction sites, like these are all places that firearms should not be. Like a bar and a restaurant or a bar, you know, I mean, down the States, you know, or in videos, right? You know, the bartender pulls a shotgun out from behind the thing and cocks it and says, "Get the fuck off my property," kind of thing, right? But for example, like, you know, you have so single home house, private property structure, dwelling unit, commercial dwelling unit, those make sense for firearms to be at the time that they're stolen, right? Now, when you're looking at car dealership, bank and other financial institutions, convenience stores, gas stations, schools during supervised activity, schools not during supervised activity, other commercial corporate places, non-commercial corporate places. Well, okay, those last two, those might also make sense. But parking lots, bus transit, bus shelter, you know, subway and subway stations, other public transportations and connected facilities, streets, roads and highways, open areas. Open areas might be out in the bush where you're allowed to have your firearms, but bars and restaurants, religious institutions, and correctional institutions. Correctional institutions, I want to know about that, because honestly, there shouldn't be any firearms going missing there. That would not be such a good thing, because the only people allowed into anywhere where there's a firearm should only be people who are carrying the firearms. Like, anyways, so, but like all of these different places, like you don't need a firearm in a convenience store in Canada. You don't need it in a parking lot. You don't need it on a street, road, or highway. Like if you're transporting and then, you know, you get robbed while you're transporting your firearms, that's a different story. And I think that's where some of this falls in there. But car dealership, you don't need to have a firearm at a car dealership. You don't, like, so this is this is giving the government ammo to be able to take these things away because of irresponsibilities of the people who own the firearms, right? So let's take a look at 2018. So restricted weapons, if you can see that there, you can only see part of it. Restricted weapons, there's 132 that were stolen in 2018. There's a total number of incidents in total of firearms stolen of 1,059. Rifles that were stolen were 667. So one trend that I saw is there's a lot more rifles being stolen than anything else. Of course, there are a lot more rifles out there, but that's to give you an idea. And then shotguns are 370, and other firearms are 193. And I wonder if I can find, there was an interesting chart that I found, I think it was in here, where they were talking about firearm-like weapons. And they said nail guns were a cause of death for people. And they labeled a couple other things. flare guns and BB guns kind of thing, or bead guns, not BB, bead. So they label that in there as well in terms of people, like how people died and stuff. And I found that interesting because you don't hear about people being killed by nail guns or bead guns or anything like that, right? So let's take a look. I'm getting sort of to the end of what I wanted to get across today, guys. Just to give you an idea. Oh yeah, so this is just going over the increase of people getting their PAL, which is the possession and acquisition license, which mine has expired, but I do not own any firearms, so we're all good there. Don't even own a nail gun. Let's just make sure that's clear. So yeah, that's just some charts in regards to that, because there was an increase up until 2020, and then there was a decrease. About 20% every year, approximately, of people, not 20%. Yeah, 20% increase over the past year, people getting their PAL up until 2020, and then that changed. Let's take a look. Is this what I'm looking for? Oh yeah, so gang-related deaths, homicides in the 10 largest cities. So I found this interesting. So when we're looking at this, we got the number of people and we have the rate. The rate is per 100,000 people. And so, you know, let's look at, I live in British Columbia, so 20 people in 2018 down to 9 in 2019. They didn't have any changes in gun legislation. And actually, a lot of these numbers do get lower other than Toronto, you know, and also, what's the other one here? Oh, and also Winnipeg and, yeah, Winnipeg and Toronto are the only ones they increase. Oh, and also Waterloo, Kitchener, and Cambridge. So this is gang violence, people dying from firearms, and stuff like that. And, you know, so when you're looking at these numbers, it doesn't really seem like, you know, unless we got like the numbers from 2020, 2021 and stuff like that, you have to have those numbers as well to be able to make a proper sort of idea on things. But we don't have those numbers because this ATIP request was done in 2019, 2020, and that's why we don't have those numbers for the recent years. I can ask for that, but that's, yeah. Let's go down here. Yeah, so that's also interesting. So the handguns lost, reported lost or stolen. I get how you can lose a handgun, but also kind of hard to lose a handgun. You should always know where that is. Oh, okay, good. You can see all this. So there was reported of in 2016 1,182, and there was recovered was only 175. That's unfortunate. That means that there's about 1,000 in that year that, you know, continued on. Now I'm curious, and as per recovered with a lost handgun, where'd they find it? Did they find it under their bed? Did they find it at the top of their closet? You know, the question is, where did they find it, right? And then you got stolen, and there's less stolen than there was lost, with about the same amount of recovery. So that's kind of interesting as well. So total is 1,900, and also recovered was 354. That means there's about 1,600 firearms in 2016 that were somewhere. Who knows? In criminal hands, more than likely, but the lost ones, who knows where those went. So anyways, yeah, these are, like I said, just more statistics. We actually have a 2020 year in here. 615 that were lost, 944 that were stolen. That's interesting as well. But, oh, where am I going? I want to click on this. Yeah, so I got 2 people on TikTok that I can, or 3 people on TikTok that are following right now. And I don't know about YouTube, but if anyone has any questions, I'm pretty much just I'm just finishing up here, and I don't think that there's a whole lot more that I can go over. Other than talking about what I've seen in these documents, because I've gone through a lot of them. Um, there's just so much to read. Like, this is in total about 1,000 pages worth of stuff to read. So there's a lot. There's a lot for me to go through, right? So I've read through a lot of it. Now, in terms of the gun laws, the things that the liberals are saying is they're saying, you know, we get these guns off our streets, then we keep our people safe. Well, one, these guns, the only guns that are on the streets, or that should be on the streets, are the ones in criminals' hands, and you're not going to get them back from them. If you did a buyback program for criminals, some of them may, because hey, I stole this gun, no questions asked, I get $500, cool. They may encourage them to steal more and go from there, right? But with that being said, right, like, you're not really convincing me by saying that you're going to be getting these guns off the streets and stuff like that, because they shouldn't be on the streets. They should be locked up in your safe. They should be, you know, with trigger locks and all those fun things with no ammo near them. Heck, remove the bolt if it's a bolt action. Remove the bolt, stuff like that, and keep that all separate, right? I mean, that's the best way to stop a person from stealing a gun is if it doesn't have a bolt, right? Like a bolt action, you know, a bolt. You know, remove all that stuff, right? You know, make it so that it's less. But anyways, so they're saying, you know, to remove the guns from the streets. Well, they're not on the streets or in people's houses, but I understand kind of where they're going with it. It doesn't make sense. The other thing they're saying is that, you know, it's going to stop the criminals from using them. But as we saw in some of the documents that we went through, in terms of firearm deaths, oh, I don't even know if I went through that document. My apologies. One of them was talking about how many people. Yeah, we did go through it. There was, in terms of homicides, gang-related homicides, there was only, I think, 20% of them were done by firearms. Most of them were bludgeoning, like beating someone to death, kind of thing. So it's pretty crazy to say, you know. Well, they'll find a way to put a tax on your hands or something eventually. So anyways, but the only compelling argument that I heard from them, from the government, the only one that makes sense in regards to what they've been talking about with gun safety and trying to keep people safe and stuff like that, literally is a criminal breaks into your house and they steal your firearm and then they use it in a crime. So that makes it an illegal firearm as soon as it's not being legally held by the person who owns it. So that makes it an illegal firearm, right? Which means they're using illegal firearms in these cases. So when it comes to that is the only compelling argument I've heard from the government in regards to banning firearms in general, handguns, hunting rifles and stuff like that, and we saw some of those numbers. There's a lot of firearms that are stolen every year. So in regards to that, when we're looking at it, that makes sense. You know, a firearm stolen, but there's things that people can do. Like I said, if you got a bolt action, remove the bolt. I don't know about lever actions, if you can dismantle that temporarily or anything like that. Like to pull out the lever. I'm not very big on lever actions, never have been. But you know, there are ways to temporarily disable a firearm that you can put back together. But then again, some people don't want to do that. But when it comes to bolt action, you pop the bolt out and you're done. You know, you keep that in a locked, you know, somewhere under your bed or something like that. No one's going to go looking there. And anyway, so that's the only compelling argument that I heard from the government in regards to the bans was literally to do with firearms being stolen. And now I've seen the evidence that there are a lot that go stolen every year. I mean, there's 1,000 minimum every single year that go missing. So anyways, I don't know how many people I got watching, if there's anyone at all. I mean, I mainly did this to get the information out, but if any of you have any questions about anything, I'm here to answer some. I'll keep the stream going for another 5 minutes. If people want to talk about something, just throw something down in the chat, and we'll go from there. There are some other ATIP requests that I want to go through. I might do another live today. We'll see. If I can, let me just take a look at what I've got. Because I'm still waiting for an ATIP request. I was supposed to get back yesterday, but I never got a confirmation email, so I have to look into that. Send an email out today. Oh, right. There was another one I was going to do. So the government paying the media or paying different organizations for pro government COVID narrative campaigns. And actually, let me just see. I'm going to pull that up. Let me go back so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so, of course, let me see if I can... Yeah, there we go. That's good enough. All right, so this is a chart of everyone who received money from the government in regards to promoting the narrative or doing research to promote the narrative. Now, I wanted to do a video about this, more specifically by looking into a few of these, right? Because you got Public Policy Forum. They do have a website, and their project name was Digital Democracy Project Policy Development. So they were probably working on the policy development in regards to COVID, and so they were paid $2.5 million. So, and then when we scroll over here, let's, their goal was named recipient, fighting disinformation and misinformation and malinformation. That was their job in regards to why they got the $2.5 million. Now, my interest into this, where's my mouse? There it is. My interest into this is, let's move this back over. What did they do with that money? Right? And then we scroll down here, and we have, let's see, Royal Institute of the Advancement of Learning. We have Northwest College. We have Civics. We have Concordia University, Ryerson University, right? And they're all talking, so $225,000 for Ryerson, right? Canadian Disinformation Research Network. And they use the money for research projects where advocates have a positive domestic impact on Canada or Canadians and include primary research such as surveys, interviews, field experiments, or lab-based experiments, as well as secondary research such as literature reviews and meta-analytics, meta-analytics. Production and analysis of data sets and creation of tools such as software programs to report research. Okay, that's one of the things that Ryerson used the money for. There's a mouthful. Jesus. Then evaluation projects where activities will seek to evaluate the impact of existing Canadian or international programming and research addressing disinformation and other online harms. So that's another thing that they were looking into. And I can't remember, so let's see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 down. Let's see what else they got paid for. Fighting disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation is another thing that they were responsible for. So anyways, this is something I'm going to be going over here, in the future here, just to give you guys an idea. And yeah, that's just what I want to do. So I got to stop this now, but